Zander Mania.
Hello, LS11 Universe Patreons, and a hello to you, Ray Wood. How the devil are you? That'll be the
most. How are you doing?
I'm great. That's the closest I'll get to parodying WrestleTalk for the day. So, yes, everyone, welcome to our first ever Patreon exclusive podcast, the LS11 Podcast. And not only could you be listening to this on your RSS feeds, on all of your favorite podcast streaming services, Apple Podcasts, whatever you use. You can also, if you pledge to us on Patreon, you can be watching this in video form through the private link that we post on Patreon. So, yes, it is the first edition of the LS11 Universe Patreon exclusive podcast. I think I've already lost Ray, and we're not even 60 seconds in. Damn it. Oh. There we go. There we go. And you're back. So, yes, I was just saying I was welcoming everyone to this, explaining about how you can listen in audio and video form. So, yeah, this is kind of just where we're gonna talk about what we want to talk, answer questions from $5 and above Patreons, which we won't have any yet because we haven't uploaded the announcement video yet. But there's a lot to do here, and I'm really looking forward to this. And I know, Ray, I know you are as well. We have a lot we want to talk about on today's edition of the LS11 Universe Podcast.
Yes, we do, guys. It's going to be really fun today. We're just going to go back in our personal history, talk about how we built the channel, talk about all that. But before that happens, Zander has something he wants to shoot on today, and he's shooting on Owen.
Yep, Luke Owen, I'm shooting on you, brother. So, for those that don't know, which would surprise me because it's been pretty much the biggest moment in the history of this channel thus far, on the night of Payback 2020, which would be on August 30th, 2020, WrestleTalk were in the midst of their split storyline where Ollie Davis fired Luke Owen. So Luke took over WrestleTalk clips and has turned it into Wrestle Luke. Luke was live streaming on his own and was bringing in guests. He had Adam Blumpy to start it off. Sean Ross Sapp came in for the Matt Riddle Baron Corbin match. And then something happened.
And ladies and gentlemen, I'm very, very excited about this. I have another special guest for you for this match. Zander Mania is running wild.
Who's that guy? Hello.
Hey, Zander, how are you, man?
I'm great. How are you, Luke?
At about, and in fact, I can give you an exact and precise time as I fill for time by talking a little slower. At about 8:11 p.m. on that night, my phone dinged with my notification sound, and I saw the Twitter DM logo, and I was like, I wonder who that could be. I clicked it, and it was from Lukewarm Luke Owen, and it says, want to pop in my stream for a bit? My response was absolutely with an exclamation point. Immediately got a response with a StreamYard link that said, pop in for the match. So yes, on that night, Luke Owen brought me into his live stream for the remainder of the Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax versus Bayley and Banks match. And I got a chance to plug LS11 Universe. I got a chance to talk with the SWAF Nation. It was great. So I know when people hear the word shoot, they typically think, oh, they're going to be ratting on them, talking shit, and all this. This podcast is fully uncensored, by the way, so I can say whatever the fuck I want. It's behind a paywall, so I don't have to worry. But no, this is a good kind of shoot because I just want to shoot on how excited I was about that moment. I was shaking with nerves. My legs were shaking. I had jelly legs. It was crazy. I was trying to keep up with the chat. I was trying to watch the match. I was trying to talk to Luke. I was trying to play it cool, and I was trying to be humble. And it was very overwhelming, the amount of positivity I was getting in the chat on that night. And it's actually where the Zander is Sean Ross Sapp's long lost brother story has started, which will that carry over into Quizzlemania? We'll find out. We'll see if I actually get brought into Quizzlemania. Will it happen? Will it not? I don't know. I personally would love to be on Quizzlemania, but if they don't want me on there, I can kind of understand. I'm not really the biggest draw, and I get that. But that night was such a big moment for the LS11 Universe channel because after I mentioned LS11 Universe twice, in the 10 minutes I was there, once when I first got there, and once on my way out because Luke told me I could. We jumped from 67 subscribers to 100 in the span of 24 hours, where we now happily reside. And Ray, you and I had talked about, well, maybe we should start a Patreon at 100. We didn't think we were going to get to 100 until like November, and here we are in September.
Yeah, but we said that to each other, so now we're here. We're on to our first episode of the podcast together. This is our early years podcast. Before the universe mode, we're going to cover how we met, the 14-year story that took place before we actually met, and then we're going to go into detail about how we were in high school and what gave birth to this universe mode 2 years after high school.
Yes, it's a lot. It's actually a really fun story. So, should I tell the story of how, at least the first part of the story of how we met, and like we'll take turns kind of telling our perspective?
The dojo.
Yes. So there's a Taekwondo dojo in the city that I still live in. Ray doesn't live there at the moment, but we've talked about
karate dojo.
Taekwondo, karate, whatever. He will have you know that it is Taekwondo. Trust me. It was Taekwondo dojo. We were 5, maybe?
5.
Yeah, we were 5 years old, so no facial hair, high-pitched voices. Ray was still freakishly tall.
Yeah, I was a freakishly tall 5-year-old. I wasn't, Yeah,
but you were still like 6'9", right?
At that time, I was probably like 5'5".
Probably. Ray was really tall, even when we first
I hear a knock at the door. 1 second.
All right. So I will continue to tell my part, and then when Ray gets back, we'll let him tell his. That way, I'm not having to cut as much audio-wise here while Ray goes to answer the door. So the story, as far as I know it, is that I started that Taekwondo studio when I was early 5 years old. My older brother and I were enrolled there by our mother, who wanted us to do something physical with our lives instead of sitting on our asses playing video games all day. Thanks, Mom. And in that time, I met a lot of people, a lot of names that I won't name, even though I remember them, because sometimes people can be weird about this kind of stuff. And I remember meeting Ray, and I was like, wow, he is not a small person. He is huge. And I thought Ray was like 14 when I met him, just because of how tall he was. And I found out we were the same fucking age. And as far as I can remember, I tried to be nice, and Ray wanted absolutely nothing to do with me. And so after that, I was just kind of like, oh, well, okay then, I guess we aren't friends. Because at 5 years old, I didn't have hate in my heart. I have hate in my heart nowadays, unfortunately. But, that comes with an extra 15 years of life and this and that and all the other stuff. But yeah, Ray and I met when we were 5 years old at a Taekwondo studio. There's actually a reason why Ray didn't have time of day for me at that point. I'll let him tell that when he gets back in just a moment's time. But little did we know 15 years ago, when we didn't like each other at 5 years old, that here we would be all this time later running a universe channel on YouTube and a Patreon together, where now we reside. I would go further in the timeline of me and Ray, but the problem there is that I want to save that for when he's back to make sure that I've got all the details right, because there are a lot, and I mean a lot, of very important details in the story of Zander and Ray leading up to September 3rd, 2020, the day we are recording this. It's Patreon. I can date the podcast if I want. It's not gonna make too big of a deal, I don't think. Ray is taking a little bit longer answering the door than I thought he would be, and I'm running out of things to fill for time with, because I realize that I am an incredibly fast talker. And wow, it is really showing here, as we are only 9 minutes into the podcast. Wow. But yeah, so like I said, Ray actually has his own reason for why we didn't get along when we met 15 years ago. It's a really, really, really hilarious reason to me, because we still discussed it a few years ago, maybe even just last year we discussed it. And he had a revelation from 5-year-old Ray and Zander that he did not know at the time. And I very much look forward to getting to relive that when he gets back from answering the door here in a second. So, yeah, Ray's back now. Welcome back, Ray. I told my end of the story. I said that there's some details from your end of the story of why you didn't like me when we were 5 years old and how you just had a revelation about how it wasn't true, even what you thought about that made you not like me when we talked about it like a year ago.
What did I say?
You said, and I wanted to wait for you to get back. You said, you know why I didn't like you, right? And I said, why is that? And you said, because when we were 5, you hit me in the face with a bow staff. I was like, that was not me. Does that sound right?
Mm-hmm. I blame my mother.
Oh, yeah?
Because I didn't see who hit me in the face with the bow staff.
Mm-hmm.
But she told me it was you.
Did she call me by name?
She said it was that kid and pointed at you.
Oh, for fuck's sake. I've met Ray's mother once, by the way. Won't go into any more detail than that. I've met Ray's mother once. I'll say that much. For podcast listeners, Ray just did the cuckoo sign with his finger.
I hope my mom never subscribes to this Patreon.
Oh, she won't. She won't even know it exists. Anyway, so yeah, and then I didn't say this out loud because I waited for you to get back. So then fast forward about 9, maybe 8 years to 2012, 2013, roughly.
Wait a minute. After the Karate Dojo,
Okay.
did I put you on the floor and try to punch you in the face before or after the bow staff?
After.
Because I knew one of us retaliated to what the other did. So I'm wondering if you hit me with the bow staff.
I didn't hit you with the bow staff. That was not me. I stand by that because at 5 years old, I was pissed scared of breaking any kind of rules, and I knew the rule was not to mess with those, so I never touched them. I didn't touch them when I was 5. I stayed at karate dojo until I was 10. I didn't touch them those 5 years. I went back when I was about 14. Didn't touch them then either.
How much karate do you know?
None. It's been 6 years since I was last there. Anyway, so yeah.
Karate dojo because that building looks like shit.
I drive past it every single day, given where I live.
But yeah, you drive past it and you're like, they let me learn how to fight people in that thing.
Yeah. But yeah. So then fast forward about 12 years to our first year of middle school.
Not 12 years, that'd be 7 years.
7 years. Yeah, fast forward 7 years to our first year of middle school when we were 12 years old. 2012, 2013 was a rough year.
Yeah. Hello.
Podcast listeners, Ray's dad just walked into the room.
Yeah, since this guy was here, I pretty much was just like, who lives here? Me? You leave anyone else? My father? What's your name? Ray? Are you going to tell? What's your dad's name? I'm not telling you that.
It's a secret.
Well, I didn't want to give any of your explicit information away. So, like, there's a man who lives here with me, who is my father. I'm sure just by looking up who I am, I can.
Did he show you some credentials?
Yeah.
Oh.
He had a badge on, everything. Look at the badge. Even if it was a weirdo, I would be like, what could he do with that information? It's not like I give him a social security number. He can find out all that shit just by looking at it online. See, that's why I don't give out the Census Bureau. I'm like, guys, the fellow branches of the government have been watching you guys for fucking decades. Watching us for decades. I'm sure you can get anything you need from them.
Anyway, so 12 years later, we meet again in middle school. So 7 years later, when we're 12 years old, we meet again in middle school. And I'll tell my side of this story first because I don't know what your side is because we never really discussed it. So in middle school, I met a lot of people that didn't really like me because I never really had many friends growing up. I didn't ever hang out with friends outside of school. I didn't have many friends, period. I had an older brother and I had a younger brother, and that was about it. So when I finally was around people that wanted to talk to me, I was annoying as shit. And so they pretty much would not let me sit with them at lunch anymore. So I started sitting at another table with this guy I met in a couple of my classes. He seemed cool, and he introduced me to his friend Ray, and I was like, wait, what? And I see this Goliath of a man walk up and sit down at our table, and I'm sorry, I have to do this. I have to do this, and you're going to hate me for it. I'm like, whoa. He's like, at this point, it was 7th grade, so you were probably about to hit 6 feet, right?
Yes.
I'm like, whoa. And I'm expecting like, hey, I'm Ray. He opens his mouth and I hear, hey, I'm Ray.
You can't see this. My dad is losing shit over here.
Because it's fucking true. It is true.
Or did you think that's the kid who beat me up after he thought I beat him with a bow staff?
Like I said, I didn't know about you thinking I beat you with a bow staff until a year ago. So I just thought, oh God, it's that really annoying kid I used to take Taekwondo with.
Do you know about that, Father?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the stories probably about when he finally got to meet me. Right? That's what the story's about, right?
No, it's about how we were both in that karate course.
Yeah.
And someone in one of the classes hit me in the face with a bow staff. And I was convinced it was Zander. It wasn't Zander. So when it came time for sparring, I kind of tried to beat the shit out of him.
Oh, how time changes things.
Okay, let's get back to the story. We were in middle school.
Right, and so I met you. You had the voice that threw me off a little bit. My voice was high pitched back then too, in all fairness. And I had only just started YouTube a few months before, and I was in the midst of my stop motion phase of YouTube, so I didn't talk to anyone about that. I was not willing to talk to people about that because I was kind of ashamed of how it was going because it wasn't great. I was getting some views, but I was getting a lot of hateful comments back then. 2011 and 12 were not kind times for the Zander LS11 channel. It wasn't even Zander LS11 yet. Either way, so Ray and I start talking because we're sitting right across from each other, and we kind of hit it off. We have a couple similar interests, although I do specifically remember a conversation where Ray and his friend, who we will not name just because, are talking about wrestling. I'm like, what are you guys talking about? And they're like, wrestling. I'm like, oh, that sounds stupid. Not kidding. What a difference a year and a half would make at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is the last thing I can say about this, is you were there for a couple months. We were decent friends in that time. We got into it one day about something.
No, I remember distinctly not liking you for the first period of it.
Maybe.
I remember us never getting along or something.
I don't know. Because then when I thought we were finally doing all right, one of us snapped at the other. And I know I snapped in the end and said some stuff I regretted back then. And I told our mutual friend to tell you that I was sorry because I didn't know when I would see you next because I thought maybe one of us was going to switch tables at lunch. I got sick. I came back and found out you weren't at the school anymore.
Yep.
So you want to tell your end of this story now?
Okay, my end of the story is I know you didn't do it, but this guy hit me in the face with a pole.
7 years prior, by the way.
I begin to beat the kid up, or attempt to at least. We were basically like a mattress top. Yeah, like imagine like this is how like little kids spar now. Instead of just typical like just a headgear, so they can softly get a concussion. So anyway, so it's basically like it's like they might be thinner, but I remember them being like distinctly like thick, and they were covered in like I forget the kind of material, be like a vinyl almost.
What, the floor?
No. Remember when we'd spar?
Oh, the chest piece things. Yeah, that was vinyl.
The chest pieces. They were like big blocks.
Yeah, they required us all to wear helmets and those chest pieces. And then I had all of the gear, which included shin and elbow guards, as well as a mouthpiece and stuff, because I had everything. I had a lot of stuff. I was committed to that stuff.
So Zander and I are about to spar. We're told spar. And then everything that they taught us for the past few months went out the window for me. I just pushed him.
Yeah, I remember that.
And because of all the excess weight he had on, he couldn't catch himself.
Yeah, it's coming back to me a little bit.
He flopped onto the floor. And I don't know why I didn't do like the thing that everyone would do now is because the only area you could hurt is really like the face. That's the only thing that sound. I didn't know why I didn't just go and start punching you in the face, but I didn't.
I'm glad you didn't.
I started just bashing into the chest piece.
Yeah, the more detail you give, the more I remember it. Thanks for reminding me. Why do you think I booked myself over you so much in the end?
It's like such a distinct thing for me because it's like, why was I doing that specifically? Why was I just going, screw it, I'll hit the chest piece. I'll hit the guard. I'll just hit the protective layer.
I don't know.
I should have waited till I had a bow staff and just waited for the opportunity. I just like imagining like if like we were smarter as children, what we would have done with that.
Oh, it's scary to think about.
Like if I had like pushed you down and then I went over and grabbed the bow staff as you're sitting there flopping like a walrus because you wore all the protective pieces, which were heavy as shit, so you could barely pick yourself up, and let alone off your back. So he's like sitting there flopping. Like,
so did I kind of nail middle school in the head, or is there something I forgot about that area?
You said we were friends. I don't remember being friends then.
I think I considered us friends, but maybe you didn't.
That's a possibility.
I considered myself friends with people who didn't like me in high school. So
was it you? No, it wasn't you. You weren't the reason I. Okay, now it's coming back to me.
Okay.
I didn't hate you.
Okay.
I hated Kajiti.
Oh man.
And you and Kajiti were like best friends at the time.
So I
hated you by association with Kajiti.
Yeah. Right, because he sat next to us, and we'll call him Kajiti because it's an easy code name to call him by. Like, funny thing about Kajiti is, and I'll tell this story very, very quickly, is he and I didn't meet until 6th grade, where he convinced me that we knew each other in the past and that we were best friends when he had come to the same school as me previously. And I was like, well, okay. And so from there, we were friends. Our friendship ended as easily as it started. So yeah, that makes more sense. So you wanna fast forward another 2 years, or I guess let me tell this bit first. So a major thing happened. Ray was gone in 7th grade. 8th grade, a certain guy that went by Warrior died, and my younger brother wanted to know who that was. So my father showed him Hulk Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior. My brother was hooked. I came downstairs. My dad decided to show me the Royal Rumble because that's a good starting place. Some dude with like short hair and a beard with X's on his fist tape came out. He rubbed around and went, "It's clobbering time." And I was like, well, that's stupid. And then some like military music hit. And this dude with half black, half blonde hair came out. And I was like, now that's a wrestler. I don't know what wrestling is, but that's a wrestler. And my weird relationship with Seth Rollins started there. And I became a wrestling fan in April of 2014. In August of 2014, Ray and I entered high school, where Ray was now back in the same school system as me.
Hooray. Also, I became a fan of wrestling
A long time prior.
In 07, yes. Oh, no, 06. I'm in 06, sorry.
Yes.
No, 7. Yeah. Okay, anyway. So it goes back to 2014. I have been living in a small town called LJ. And I moved back to Rome, Georgia, and start going to the same high school as Zander. So day one, you have to select your classes before this, and I selected a course called Audio, Video, Tech, and Film.
As did I. You're starting to see what this is going.
Yeah, and I went to first period at first.
As did I.
No, you were in third period.
Oh, you weren't right. I thought you meant like as in went to first period to start your day. My bad.
No. Like, I had the first period ABTF. You had third period ABTF.
Yes.
Yeah. And I forget why I had to leave the program. I think I had to take like a math support program. So I had to take out an elective and put it somewhere else. So then I went to third period ABTF.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw, well, that man sitting over there.
Yep.
In front of a window. His massive hoodie on. It's probably 2 sizes too big for him at the time.
I don't remember wearing a hoodie that much.
You wore a hoodie, man.
That's not me anymore. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. And you had like a trapper keeper type thing. And
yeah, I know. I remember that much.
Cloth binders.
Yep, because I've still got it.
Yeah, and I walked in, we locked eyes. You're like, oh God, it's that guy.
And to my left, Kajiti. To my right, a man many of you might know simply as Alan.
See if we can, in post, let's see if we can add Alan's beautiful face right there.
Yeah, I'll add a picture. I'm going to have to watch the full thing back to cut out certain bits anyway, so that's fine. Alan is the third guy of our group. He's not as into wrestling as we are. He's not as into writing and stuff as we are. He just likes to hang out, and we love him. So
we love Alan.
He's the best. Like we might try and get Alan on the podcast one day. We'll see.
We have to promise him tamales or something.
Yeah, or something.
It's not because he's a fan. It's actually just because he loves tamales.
He just loves food.
Okay. Quick side note about Alan. Alan loves food. And I love food, but he loves food to a concerning extent.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen him choke down a Little Caesars pizza. I can eat Little Caesars pizza fast, but not that fast. You just starving it. And no, I'm getting to the story. We were filming at Too Many Zanders. I had bought a couple 2 liters Dr. Pepper. I put one on the counter and one in a cabinet above the fridge, and I closed it. Ran out of Dr. Pepper. I said, I got Sprite and Coke. I catch Alan, who have since found the 2 liter Dr. Pepper, and take it down, and then got a cup of it. And I'm just like, dang, that was my private 2-liter of Dr. Pepper.
I remember that. But yes, and also this is kind of an important detail.
Ate an entire pizza that day too. Like I bought like, a lot of DiGiorno. I bought like 3 or 4 DiGiornos, and I was cooking them all in quick sequence. I swear to God, Xander had like 2 slices. Our buddy Zale had like 4, I think.
This was the day we filmed Too Many Zanders 3. I remember.
Yeah.
The first day.
Alan had eaten the entire fucking pizzas by himself. He just cleared this thing, and I didn't eat a lot of pizza, but I was like, God damn, Alan.
So yes, back on the story. It
amazes me he didn't throw up during the filming.
I know.
It amazes me.
Yeah, me too. But anyway, back on the story here, one more important detail, another person we won't name. There was someone that I'll just call the instigator that sat with me as well. He and Ray did not get along. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The one who really wore hoodies all the time that were too big for him.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah. He's important to the story, but Ray sits decent distance away from us. We know to keep our distance from one another. We know our history.
Yeah.
And here's the first real interaction we had in the class, I think.
Okay, go.
We were out in the studio filming.
Uh-huh.
We were stuck in a group together, I believe.
Uh-huh.
And the topic of a pro wrestler comes up. And so you start doing the little ritual Rusev used to do when he was the Russian, where he would do like the little, oh. You were like, this is how a pro wrestler does it. I was like, that is not how a fucking pro wrestler does it. We were like, yes, it is. I watch it. And I went, yeah, if you're like fucking Rusev. And you looked at me, and I looked at you. And we're like, okay. And we didn't speak about it.
Yeah. So
that sound about right?
I think so. I can't remember off the top of my head. All I remember is one day you finally come to me and you're like, hey, Ray, yeah. See what happened on Raw last night?
What happened on Raw that night? Do you remember?
It had something to do with Seth. Maybe, no, it wasn't Seth turning.
Seth turning was before high school started.
It may have been. I remember.
What was it?
It wasn't Raw. It was pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
It was Ambrose versus Rollins in the cell.
Wow, it took us that long?
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. And you had asked me, what do you think? I actually liked the finish at the time.
I liked it as well at the time.
Yeah. So, go on, and we kind of talk about Raw. And I think you added me on Facebook.
Yes, you popped up in my suggestions. I was like, Ray's a pretty cool guy. And so I clicked add friend, and we started texting on Facebook. And at about that time, and this spins into it here, I discovered a channel called Brendan Plays. He still uploads occasionally, who was doing WWE 2K14 Universe Mode. I had just recently gotten WWE 2K14 myself, and I was like, well, that looks fun. And so that's kind of where Universe started. We'll talk a bit more about that later on. So, Ray, you and I were fine for a while. Our friendship got closer. You spent the night at my house for about 3 nights in a row during WrestleMania 31 weekend.
Yeah, I was going to say that's what I remember distinctly when we became friends was when you offered for me to spend the night at your house and watch WrestleMania.
Yes, which also was after somehow I'd covered a whole freaking year of Universe at that point.
Well, you were pumping videos out pretty regularly back then.
That's true. I was pumping videos out quickly. Like, it was coming up on the Royal Rumble, the second Royal Rumble in Universe, which had a horrible finish that we'll talk about in a future episode. We'll save one bad booking decision at a time because I want to talk about the first episode of the original Universe soon. Ray was there to help me commentate the second Royal Rumble I ever did. Not really knowing much about the story that was going on at the time either, because I didn't fill him in too much, other than you're going to be playing as this guy called Sami Zayn, because you hadn't quite started watching NXT yet.
Yeah.
I will take credit for introducing Ray to NXT.
Okay.
And then
Case, but okay.
we spent the weekend together. We watched WrestleMania 31 at my uncle's house at a big watch party. We watched Raw the next night. You went with us on a shopping trip out of town the next day, and you went home that evening, I believe.
If I remember correctly, it was night after we went to that shopping trip out of town.
Yeah, it was.
No, then we came back. Then we watched Raw, and then the next morning I left.
That sounds right, actually.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that was really the first time we hung out outside of school as well.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm still friends with Kajiti and Alan, obviously. I'm still friends with Alan to this day. Ray, you and I were fine. Comes along to the following August, our sophomore year of high school starts.
Yeah, and that is when it's either with both of us or one of us started taking 2 ABCDF courses a day.
I don't think either of us had yet, because I believe that was junior year.
Yeah. Okay, so we arrive at this point, and
here's what I got to get to. Our teacher, Mr. Beavers, who I won't censor his name because, well, he knows us, and we still talk. We still talk to him. What the? Excuse you.
I didn't mean to do that.
Yeah, I was about to say. Ray, for podcast listeners, Ray just made himself the only one on the screen for a second there. Mr. Beavers discovered that iMovie had movie trailer templates. And so he wanted everyone to take some B-roll of themselves and make a movie trailer. So what did I do? We made 3 because it was me, Alan, and Kajiti. I nearly said his real name for a second there. And I had already started creating the Zander clones at this point.
Yeah, and
there were only 4.
Series.
There was me. There was the useless Zander number 2, drunk Zander number 3, Hulk Hogan Zander number 4, and Waluigi Zander number 5. So I made, using the clips from videos that had them in, a trailer called Too Many Zanders. Ray looks at me after I show him the trailer. Ray had been suggesting ideas for me with the clones at this point. Ray looks at me and he says, Zander, what if we made this a real thing? And I said, that's a horrible idea. But Ray, what if we made this a real thing? And you were like, that's what I just said. And I said, I know, it's a great idea I just had. That's not exactly how it went. I'm exaggerating a little bit. But Ray did suggest Too Many Zanders. And so a few weeks later, I came to Ray's house. It was not the first time I'd been to his house at this point. We'd hung out a few times over the summer.
Yeah.
I come to Ray's house. I bring all of my Zander clone clothes, which was so much easier back then because there were only 5 of them. Now there's like 1,000, it feels like. And we filmed Too Many Zanders 1. My voice hadn't deepened. Ray's voice hadn't deepened. We didn't know what we were doing. We were making it up as we went. Holy shit, it was horrible, but it still exists.
That old creaky ass house where the floor shook in all directions, so anytime you walked, the camera would vibrate and make it look like you were walking through goddamn Haiti.
Yes, and we uploaded it. People at school watched it.
They thought it was funny. They thought it was ironic. It was not ironic.
Then they said, wins Too Many Zanders 2. I said, let's do it. Ray had written a script already. I was like, throw that out. I'm Vince McMahoning this shit. And I came up with the script myself to introduce Slender Man. Yep. So,
along came after that, Too Many Zanders 3. And Zander, one night, I remember because we used to write them together.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we write them together. So you were sitting on call with me. And you're like, I just don't know what to do for the third one. We had the idea for another Slender Man coming back. We had this other idea. And I was like, Zander. And I had this idea because in my head, there wasn't a 4th one. I thought we were going to do a trilogy of them. And so I come up with the Too Many Zanders, one versus all. And I had the idea to bring in other YouTubers who unfortunately fell out. One of them named JT Dubs. Look him up. He makes funny videos. Watch his podcast. Tell him we sent you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's basically what we did. And we filmed Too Many Zanders 3, and we had the first day of filming, which was terrible.
Yeah, it was horrible. Kajiti, which
moist.
Yeah, Kajiti, a very important thing here. Stop us if you hear this one before, because we're going to mention this a lot in this room. Kajiti cancels on us last minute.
Kajiti.
Several people cancel on us over the span of the days that we're supposed to film.
Yeah.
It starts pouring down rain. I'm at my mother's house. My mother is infamous for saying, okay, we're going to leave in a few minutes and taking another hour. So we didn't get started filming until later in the day. It was raining. Half the people that were shooting with us had to go or disappeared for half of the shoot. And so it was just me, you, and Alan in a muggy-ass park.
And Zale sometimes.
Zale for part of it.
Yeah.
And that was one thing I will say about Too Many Zanders 3. It was the proper introduction of John Cena Zander.
Yeah. So, but on the first day, I'm like, Zander, we gotta make a fourth one? And you said, I don't know, maybe. And that's, well, let's plan for it. Why don't we have me beat you up at the end?
And that's what we did. About, I believe, a month after we filmed it the first day, we filmed again to finish the third one.
Yeah.
And we redid the fourth one. Or we did the fourth one the same day, didn't we?
No, the fourth one wasn't until like a month later.
Okay, but yeah, we redid the end of the third one where we redid most of the fights that we could. We redid me versus Alan. We redid me versus Ray. We redid Slender versus Zander number 3. And we redid, I believe, you taking out Zander number 5 quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, so gets the end, we refilm the end, and we send it out into the internet again.
And people liked it again.
Yeah. And so
we do the fourth one.
Then I go on my personal YouTube channel.
Right.
And I cut a promo. And I remember calling you washed up. I remember calling you a fraud. And then I said at the end, you brought this upon yourself.
Yes. And the funny thing about this was you mentioning washed up. At the time, I had eliminated the initials LS11 completely from my channel. For about a month, I was just Zander Carver.
Yeah.
And so that was part of your promo there.
Yeah. So after that, you made this trailer where you cut a rant. You did on me with the cut. I did on you, and then we showed clips from our friendship. And then you published that as the trailer for Too Many Zanders 4.
And it ended with that you brought this upon yourself as the music ended.
Yes. So everyone in the school sees this and is convinced Zander and I are about to get into an actual fist fight on screen and that we actually hate each other.
Yeah, it's weird that people actually thought that.
Yeah.
So we filmed Too Many Zanders 4. We get there, and this whole time, Ray has made his own custom championship in the same regards as podcast listeners won't see it, but similar regards to this one that I have. But it used to be a different picture of my face, and it said Too Many Zanders Let's Play, or YouTube Let's Play Heavyweight Champion. And Ray had made his own that looked more like an actual belt. And Ray said, Zander, what if I beat you, introduce this, and then you can win it back and we make this the official belt? And I was like, no, because I want to do this. I don't want to lose the belt. And I admit that was a big issue with a lot of the shooting was me saying the words, no, I don't want to lose the belt yet. So instead we do a weird finish. You throw me into the fence.
Yeah.
I DDT you, air quotes for podcast listeners, as in I grab you by the head, your head lands 2 feet off the ground, and I fall on my back.
Yeah.
You throw your arm over me. I do the thing I'm infamous for doing when I take a bump where I kick my legs straight up in the air. and I throw my legs on you, and we both count 3, and we're both champion.
Yeah.
Time comes, I turn 16, I get the real replica WWE Championship for my birthday, and so we turn that into the official YouTube Universe title, and we unveil it together the day before our junior year starts.
Yeah, the day before. And again, it was hot and muggy. And Zander tombstoned me. Pedigreed me onto this like really rough backyard I had at the time.
Yep. And a shovel hit you at the same time, I believe.
Yeah. I was like, you knocked me into a shovel.
And you played that into your promos, I think, too, didn't you?
Yeah. No. It just became a joke. Zander and Ray with a shovel.
Right. Yeah. I was embracing my Triple H, brother. Too Many Zanders 5 comes, and it essentially becomes me and Alan and Kajiti versus Ray and Zander number 3. Kajiti turns on me halfway through. Ray almost beats me. And then Alan gets kicked in the legs by Ray. Alan falls down. I hit Ray with a horrible pedigree because pedigreeing Ray was a bad decision, yet I did it 1,000 fucking times. Go look up Seth Rollins pedigreeing Brock Lesnar or Triple H pedigreeing The Big Show. It looks like that.
Should have just hit me with a bow staff. It's the finish.
I pin Ray. Ray shakes my hand, clasps the belt around my waist. I hold up all 3 belts. There's a fun image. If I had the beard at the time and I had lost all the weight, I was a little bit fat at the time. I had both belts on my shoulders, the big belt on my waist. I said, not only am I the greatest champion, I had presented Alan with the Mexican championship at this point. I turned around, smashed Alan in the face with the belt. I screamed, I am the only. Then hit Ray with the belt and pedigreed Alan, and I turned heel.
Do you remember there's this moment where I scream Alan's name and my voice cracks, and it sounds like the most worried screech.
Yes, it's hilarious.
No!
And I throw Ray in the river. Why? I don't know. Looking back on it, heel Zander has several cases of attempted murder.
Yeah.
Heel Zander, I've been wanting to talk to you about that. You might want to lay low for a while.
All right, you tell your side of the story real quick. I'm going to pee.
Okay, so I'll talk about Too Many Zanders 6 while you're gone. Too Many Zanders 6 comes, and I am in full dickhead heel mode. We started off, I believe, with just me. I'm going to mute Ray's microphone while he's going to the bathroom. We started off with just me wearing fake sunglasses that look very similar to the ones I'm putting on right now. For podcast listeners, it's my Iron Man sunglasses. But they were Dollar Tree versions of these sunglasses. I put them on and I just go, hello, everybody. My name is Zander LS11 Gaming, and I am the YouTube Universe Heavyweight Champion. And it was, you know, it was something. Not proud of it. Alan shows up in my car because I'd gotten a car between 5 and 6. Maybe I'd gotten it before 5. Doesn't matter. It's a small detail. Alan comes up with the Mexican championship. He challenges me for a match. I tell him no. I tell him he can defend the Mexican championship against Zander number 3. I screw him out of the title, and then I beat Alan. So I straight up fucking bury Alan. And at the time, Kajiti was supposed to be the special ref because he had aligned himself with me after the match. But he, say it with me, canceled on us again. And so we planned around that, and I created a fake clone of Ray that I dubbed Bitch Ray in reference to the Family Guy Bitch Stewie and Bitch Brian episode because I was 16, so I was loving Family Guy. I'm 20 now. I'm like, it's a shit show. Anyway, Bitch Ray screws Alan out of the Mexican championship with my help. Zander number 3 wins it. Zander number 5 does a run-in after the match, which is really weird. And then Alan and I have a match. We give Alan a few hope spots. Bitch Ray beats up Alan. I win, and then it's revealed that Bitch Ray was actually Ray the whole time. So why he screwed Alan, I don't really know. But then, cue Slender Man. For some reason, I was sold that Slender Man was a good idea for Too Many Zanders, and so Slender Man attacked Ray and Alan, laid them both out with choke slams, and held up the YouTube Universe Heavyweight title to end the movie. Why Slender Man was able to hold up the title, which was mine, because I was nowhere to be seen, I don't know. It doesn't make much sense in hindsight, but it happened. And if we're halfway through the Too Many Zanders series at this point, you're probably wondering, why are you breaking down every Too Many Zanders? Why is this important? It actually is really important to mine and Ray's friendship, because Too Many Zanders was such a big part of mine and Ray's friendship and professional and personal relationship as friends. Too Many Zanders was kind of the stepping stone and breaking points of our relationship as friends. And so it's actually important to kind of break down the creative process behind them, because you can see me refusing to do the job in Too Many Zanders 4, me insisting on bringing in Slender Man, so on and so forth, was really, really important. And so I'll kind of cover 7 here, because Ray didn't have as much of a hand in 7. 7 starts with a rematch between Alan and Zander number 3, excuse me. Surprisingly, Zander number 6, who's one of my favorite Zander clones, didn't make any appearances Too Many Zanders till the end. Zander number 3 and Alan had their Mexican title rematch. Zander number 3 wins again. I believe he kicked Alan in the balls. And then it's me and Slender Man one more time in The Fear Awakens. Can you tell The Force Awakens had only come out a year prior? So I beat Slender Man clean that time, I believe. Yeah, I beat Slender Man clean. It was, it happened. It was a thing. And we didn't unmask him because we didn't want it to be revealed as anyone under the mask, for reasons that were, we didn't want it to be that Slender Man was a person. We want Slender Man to be a thing. Same way how he is in ARW nowadays. Slender Man in ARW is how I wanted Slender Man to be in Too Many Zanders, where he just comes in, fucks shit up, and disappears. That was the idea, but he had a absolute shit record. So it was my own fault on that one. But either way, Ray is taking forever to pee. I beat Slender Man, and at the end of Too Many Zanders 7, I tell Zander number 3 that at Too Many Zanders 8, because it had become like a fucking monthly thing at this point when it should have been a lot less often than that, it would be Zander number 3 versus Alan versus Slender Man versus Ray in the first ever Subscriber in the Bank ladder match. There are several problems with Subscriber in the Bank, and I'm waiting for Ray to get back before I talk about them. So I talked about Too Many Zanders 7 while you were on, because I figured you didn't really... That's probably one of the worst Too Many Zanders, so I don't want to relive it longer than I have to.
Yeah, I gotcha. So Too Many Zanders 8, Subscriber in the Bank. What was the problem?
Everyone canceled. It was supposed to be an 8-person ladder match. It was originally supposed to be Alan versus Ray versus Zander number 3 versus Zander number 5 versus Slender versus Kajiti. That's only 6, but it was supposed to be 6. Kajiti was supposed to win with my help and win the YouTube Championship at a later date. We'll talk about that later. Kajiti canceled on us, so it became Slender versus Alan versus Ray versus Zander number 3. And then, because there were only 3 of us, we had Slender get killed at the beginning by Zander number 3, and Alan got locked in a fucking trunk. Again, another felony committed by me.
Yeah, he wouldn't have gone that during unless I pointed out. He looked at me like I was like, and he looked.
And I was kind of saying when you were gone as well. I said, people might wonder, well, why are you spending this full first episode talking so much about Too Many Zanders? And I said, Too Many Zanders is both the foundation and breaking point of our friendship at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it is on me. Like, I talked about me refusing to do the job in Too Many Zanders 4, me insisting on bringing Slender Man in again for 7, and me insisting on putting the briefcase, which was a laptop case, on Kajiti in 8, even though he was flaky.
Yeah, and you were trying to find the right finish in Too Many Zanders 8, because now we had to cancel on us
again.
And the only solution was to give me the briefcase.
Yep. I was hesitant to do it. Don't ask why I was hesitant to put the briefcase on Ray. I don't know. He was the most loyal person in Too Many Zanders filming. he and Alan were the only two really loyal people. We had so many people we wanted in Too Many Zanders that just wouldn't do it.
And who agreed to do it at one point.
Yeah, several people agreed to do it. So we did the rushed ladder match. It was a piece of shit match. It was probably the worst match we had in all of Too Many Zanders, and you won.
Mm-hmm.
You won. We hadn't figured out your theme yet, so you had a rock cover of Dean Ambrose's theme, which you had not signed off on. I just threw it in there. And I think one of the breaking points of Too Many Zanders 8 was the problem that I had posted the trailer for it the day after 7 dropped. It was supposed to be released on November 23rd. Too Many Zanders 7 released on Halloween. I missed the 2 in 23rd, so the trailer said November 3rd. So at that point, I felt obligated to put it out on November 3rd, 4 days after the previous one had come out. So there was a 2-month break between Too Many Zanders at that point.
Yeah. And we came back with Too Many Zanders 9, The Last Man Standing.
Which was released on Alan's birthday and 1 year to the day of me being the YouTube Universe Heavyweight Champion. It came about when at the end of Subscriber in the Bank, Ray and I made the deal that I give Alan one more match, fair, one-on-one, last man standing. If I win, I get the Subscriber in the Bank briefcase. If I don't agree to the match, Ray hits me in the face right then and there and cashes in on me.
Yeah.
Alan and I have a decent match. I think we had to reshoot that match twice. Once because the camera was all over the place, and the second time, I believe weather was a problem.
No, weather was fine the second time around. It was hot.
Okay, so yeah. There was some stuff that we practiced a lot of spots beforehand as well. We practiced the AA into an RKO. We practiced the Superman punch. But then in execution for the actual movie, we slipped.
A lot.
Yeah. Like, he didn't quite catch me for the RKO, so you couldn't tell. I am the drizzling shits at taking RKOs. And I think nowadays I can take them better. But, like, when I was 16, I didn't want to bump. I really was taking the Triple H lessons of things. In the end, Alan beats me. Ray cashes in on Alan. Ray becomes the Too Many Zanders YouTube Universe Heavyweight Champion. And I break. Because I insisted on Broken Zander being a thing.
Which really messed up the Too Many Zanders that we had in mind going forward.
Yeah, Broken Zander messed with a lot of things. Because then we got to 10. 10 was the final deletion. Except we just called it Too Many Zanders X because it was Too Many Zanders 10. We announced it as Ray versus Alan, and then Alan was attacked by the debuting Broken Zander, who many thought was just me. At the time, it was supposed to be just me. I attacked Alan. I challenged Ray to a fight. I drew the Master Sword. Ray drew his sword. We had a fight with swords. The original plan was for me to buy Nerf guns and random weapons because I was working at Toys R Us at the time, to spend like $30 on random weapons and stuff to use and to just beat the shit out of each other with whatever we could find. At one point in time, when you had a Nerf gun, I was going to run behind the dilapidated shopping cart. But it just didn't work out. And so we had a crappy sword fight where we occasionally swung at each other, but then talked more for like 3 minutes, and swung again, and talked, swung again, talked. The end of 2016 was a rough one. And it was really where our friendship started to kind of break. Ray beats me by tricking me. He challenges Alan to one more match for the title. It's then revealed that it's actually Broken Zander was Zander number 2 the whole time, and I had been taken out after Too Many Zanders 9. And we rolled with it. Ray didn't agree with it. He shouldn't have because it was a stupid idea, but we rolled with it. And this is actually a crucial detail here. This leads us into Zandermania 2 2017. Zandermania 2.
So going into this, I felt like ego was a massive player in the situation.
It was. Because we were doing a triple threat. Ray versus Zander versus Alan.
And it was originally just going to be me and Alan, but you were like, well, it's Zandermania. I think I should headline. So then you come up with the Broken Zanders, actually the number 2 idea. Essentially as a way, this is my opinion, as a way to basically say, no, Ray did not beat me in this game or in this series. He's not beating me yet.
Yes, that was part of it.
My clone.
So we built Zandermania. We did a Road to Zandermania series with me, Ray, and Sid, where we crowned the first Too Many Zanders Hardcore Champion. We crowned the first Too Many Zanders Intercontinental Champion. I won both of those titles at once at one point, and then vacated them in exchange to insert myself into the main event. Not how it really should work, but it happened. So at Zandermania 2, 2017, we did Zander number 5 versus Zander number 3 in a ladder match. It was actually kind of fun. I won't lie. It was actually really a lot of fun to do that match.
Sun starts coming down.
Sun starts going down. Here's the problem with Zandermania 2. We planned out the whole day. Me, Ray, Alan, Sid, Kajiti's actually fucking there, and our camera operator. We get done with school at 3:30. We load up in my car. We get to Ray's. Alan casually tells me, hey, I've got a job interview at 4. I drive Alan to the job interview. He says it'll only take 5 minutes. He gets done with the job interview at 5:30. 5:30. In the wintertime. Sun's starting to go down. We rush through Zander number 3 versus Zander number 5. Sun's still up. We do Zander number 4 getting taken out, and Zander number 3 entering the hardcore title match against John Cena Zander. One problem I also have with Zander number 2, Zandermania 2, is that Sid, God love him, kept throwing himself into scenes. And we didn't have time to reshoot.
Yeah, well, okay. So also, we were having trouble because this was a new filming location entirely.
Yes, it was behind Ray's house rather than the park.
Yeah. And essentially how it was there was this yard and then there was this little path that ended in a massive circle.
And it was perfect for what we wanted to do.
Yeah. We envisioned actually putting a wrestling ring there at one point, but we'll get to that later.
That's a story for another day. That's a full story for another day. We'll gradually talk about it in a little bit. But, so we rush through the ladder match. It goes for about 5 minutes. Really, my favorite match to do that night. I think it was the most fun for me, personally.
Now, I have to remind you, I did actually have a lawnmower, but while Zander was at the job interview, I was just going in circles with this lawnmower.
Yes, because someone that lived with Ray at the time said they were going to do it and then fell through. And so Ray gets it mowed. We pick up Sid. Me, Alan, and Kajiti get back to the filming location. We do the hardcore title match where Zander number 3 wins the title. Kajiti comes out, wins the title, says, man, if you're going to... There's that fucking gnat again. There's a gnat that's been flying around my room for the last couple of days for people who don't know. Kajiti is like, man, if you just let me keep doing stuff like this, I'll stick around for everything. And I was like, he was in at that point. So we gave him the hardcore title to appease him. The Intercontinental title match between Zander number 3, or the Doctor and Slender. I feel like we had more planned for it, didn't we?
Yeah, we had planned a big match. Meanwhile, though, you have to remember, typically it was like more of a collaborative experience. We were directed before, and you directed Zandermania practically by yourself. Because I was in the house getting ready for the main event.
Which we'll talk about in a moment. So I made the executive decision the day of, Vince McMahon style, that the Doctor versus Slender for the Intercontinental title, which was supposed to be like a battle of titans, 2 unstoppable beasts, was going to be Goldberg Brock Lesnar from Survivor Series.
Yeah.
Slender grabbed him by the throat. Doctor kicked him in the dick. Time rift, which is the Kinshasa. 1, 2, 3. Doctor won the belt.
Yeah.
We did the rematch a few months later, but we'll talk about that in a minute.
Yeah.
Another thing to note about Zandermania 2. I entered a relationship the same week that we filmed it.
Yeah.
The relationship I'm currently in now, I entered that week. I believe I entered it the few days after Zandermania, but point remains. Yeah. Our camera operator, who will not be named, will not be specified, did not appreciate me entering a relationship with this person. And so they purposely screwed some things up in filming.
Yeah.
So we get to the main event. It's me. I make my way to the ring in full Kylo Ren attire, despite me absolutely hating Kylo Ren. Alan comes down in the back of a car with Xander number 5 and Sid accompanying him to the ring. Should have just been Xander number 5, but Sid kept throwing himself in stuff. And then you come out in full Finn Balor-inspired paint, which you could barely see because the sun was fully down at this point.
Yeah.
And we were working off of street lamps and some handheld lights that we had on us at the time.
Yeah. But if I remember specifically, that Finn Balor paint took forever. And it turned out terrible.
No, it turned out fine. You just could barely see it. We had several spots planned for it.
Yeah, and I had the idea that by the end of the match, like the paint would be practically off.
Yeah, but we barely had a chance to do anything with it.
Yeah.
And this is one of the things where it seemed like it would be my ego more than anything, but it was a matter of I knew it was probably the best decision to make at the time, and I made it like I had to. The sun was going down. It was late. Sid was getting sick. I couldn't be out long. Everyone was hungry. Everyone was tired. And so I made the decision and pause. Yeah. Well, I didn't know if you were going to do it or not. Appreciate it. Anyway, and so I made the executive decision that I'd rather us have a short but fun match than a long and not great one because of the lighting. Ray was disappointed by it, rightfully so. But it was really out of our hands at the time. It was one of those things where I hate to put it like this, but like as the not obvious, but as the pretty much leader of our little group of friends, because I kind of was the leader of our little group, I would say.
Yeah.
I had to make the executive decision then and there when my back was to the wall. And it sucked because I didn't want to do that. But I did, and I think that's where more tension formed. And so Alan won in a rushed finish where we double super kicked you, then he RKO'd me, and he counted the 3, and that was it. Kajiti attacked me in the middle of the match, which was supposed to lead to me versus Kajiti down the road, but then Kajiti flaked on us a lot. We didn't do anything Too Many Zanders related for 6 months at this point.
Yeah.
I entered my relationship. Alan was working at different jobs. Kajiti was working at jobs. Our camera operator stopped speaking to us, and you and I were on a bit of a rough patch as it was anyway.
And then I don't know if it was like I don't know if it was a problem, but it seemed like you did have a problem with me going into in drama and spending a lot more time in the theater.
I had problems with it because I thought you weren't committed to Too Many Zanders. Keep in mind, this was 17-year-old me, 17-year-old me who was in a relationship and was experiencing a lot of change in his life at the time and was freaking out about stuff.
Yeah.
And so we were going to do YWF, which was going to be the YouTube Wrestling Federation with the ring and stuff. We'll talk about stories from that down the road. Excuse me.
But
things fell through with that. So we agreed to do Fight on the 4th. In my opinion, the last great project we did together before the end of our friendship.
So, Fight on the 4th, we did.
It was a very collaborative project.
Yeah, and so weird that it fell apart so quickly after this because it was to me like a massive comeback. We had finally done everything correctly. I'm sorry, guys. I'm moving to my charger right now.
No, it's fine. So, funny thing is, Too Many Zander Mania 2017 ended with Alan saying that the next person to get a title shot would be Kajiti and Sid in a triple threat last man standing match. Kajiti, when we got there at Fight on the 4th, wanted nothing to do with being in an actual match. He just wanted to film for us. And we were like, okay, that's fine. And so we announced that there would be a last-minute replacement in the triple threat match. We changed it to triple threat because triple threat last man standing makes no sense.
Thank you, Alan.
It was Alan, so of course. And it was revealed that Zander number 5 was the mystery third man. It made everyone laugh. It made sense because at Zander Mania 2016, Zander number 5 had won a number 1 contenders match, and he never got his title match. We took out Sid with a Scorpion Death Drop where I actually drilled him into my knee to avoid him hitting the ground. Then Alan put a bucket on my head and kicked me in the face. Cut the back of my ear open. Didn't know it until after we were done shooting. We then jumped into me versus Ray in a number one contenders match where the winner would fight Alan later that night.
By far our best match we ever had.
Agreed.
I hadn't fucked up the entire filming and decided to zoom in on my stomach whenever I landed on the floor.
Yep. I won in that one. It made sense story-wise. Not really. You winning made more sense story-wise there, I think. But we agreed on me winning because we weren't sure if YWF was going to happen or not. We then did.
I want to tell you a story. It was from one of the Too Many Zanders where I was a good guy and you were a bad guy.
So not many, but okay.
And you cut this out, but I remember it distinctly. I pulled up an old note for this. I screamed at Zander, "Quelingo vestido puedo problemero." And you're like, and then you looked at me. I was like, "What in hell did I just say?" And you want to know? I had said because Alan translated.
Yes, he translated to, "That's a beautiful dress. May I try it on?"
Yes.
And the reason I cut it was because we were all corpsing during it.
What a nice dress. May I try it on?
Yes, I remember that. And so, fight on the 4th, we did the Zandermania rematch as well. We did Slenderman versus the Doctor for the Intercontinental title. I'd purchased the real Intercontinental title in that time with my tax return that year. And I still have that belt. And the Doctor won off a roll-up. Slenderman. Alan did not want to wear the Slenderman suit that day. So Alan wore the pants. He wore the pants.
I feel like we're missing out on talking about the set for Fight on the 4th.
Yeah, we kind of are now that you mentioned that.
Yeah. So how the set was Zander and I went to Dollar Tree a day or two before we filmed it. So we're at the Dollar Tree. And the idea I had for hardcore matches was that we spare $20, so it'd be $20 unsanctioned match or Extreme Rules. Yep. And we go into Dollar Tree and just find the best weapons to use on one another that would look painful but actually be fine.
Yes, and we got things like glow sticks, a broom, not kidding, a bucket, an aluminum pan,
a couple of aluminum pans,
a water bottle, which I actually used for water in the end, before it got messed up in the washing machine or in the dishwasher, excuse me, as well as several other things that I can't remember off the top of my head.
I just remember then we went to the Walmart, which is across the street from the Dollar Tree.
Yes,
some board, like some
poster board, foam poster board. Yeah,
foam board. And so we're sitting there with the foam board, and so we're gonna spray logos. Turns out you have to be 18 to buy spray paint.
We were 17 at the time. We were only a few months away.
And I was like, dang it, that ruins it. So I went home and I used some old spray paint to do it. In hindsight, you could have just bought regular paint.
Yeah, we could have.
Which is not illegal to sell, but whatever.
We made, you made a poster board that said TMZ on it, which is the initials for Too Many Zanders, and we had one that we planned to use as a table break spot, and it kind of failed.
Destroy everything I love.
It wasn't my fault that Alan couldn't do it, right? It's not my fault everyone else did things wrong. I did it fine. Anyway, so yeah, and we had two like metal walkway things that we had set in our paracord tied between two trees with a curtain hanging on it as our entranceway. And we had the TMZ sign sitting in the yard. It was actually a really neat setup, honestly.
We hooked up a TV and hooked that up to the Chromebooks.
Which I think that was just Zandermania. I don't think we did that for Fight on the 4th.
Yeah, so Fight on the 4th happens.
And we introduced the Broken Dynasty, which I tried to do stuff with afterwards. I think Broken Dynasty was a good idea in concept, bad in execution. And I'll get to that in a few minutes. So Final Fourth happens. I win the belt back from Alan. My favorite match I've had with Alan thus far was at Fight on the Fourth, honestly. My favorite match I had with you was at Fight on the Fourth. Fight on the Fourth was fun. It's actually on a timely wall if people want to go watch that bullshit of a show. It's weird. We get to Too Many Zanders 11. We film it the same day. It wasn't great. It was rushed. There's not much to talk about with it.
Well, yeah, because we just filmed Fun on the 4th, and for some reason you thought we could film them both in one day.
I knew I could. Like, I was like, I'm ready to go. Everyone else was like, no.
Okay, no, Xander. It's still not fair to expect everyone to do that.
Oh, I know. I know that. I know that now. Back then, I wouldn't have known. Anyway,
I didn't know that then. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I did.
I physically abused you too much.
I mean, you said it, not me, brother. Anyway, so we did
too much. I abused you the right amount.
We did Too Many Zanders 11, and it sucked. Long story short, that was really it. Ray and I stopped being friends about 8 months later. Not even 8 months later, actually.
Yeah, and then we got to. Now we're going to have to backtrack.
So Ray and I stopped being friends actually a few weeks after Fight on the 4th aired.
Yeah.
It's some personal stuff we won't go into why we stopped being friends. And it makes me sad thinking about how much time we didn't have as friends.
No, we have to backtrack to the origins of the universe mode.
Well, I was going to do that after I explained this bit, because I was going to talk about how we rekindled our friendship recently.
Oh, yeah.
So we went through all of our senior year without being friends. We talked maybe 3 times the whole senior year.
Yeah.
All 3 of them about wrestling, funny enough.
Yeah.
Once was Ray telling me that he thought the universe mode WrestleMania I did was good. Once was us discussing some universe ideas of what was going on.
Yeah.
And the other was me telling Ray what I had planned for the future of universe.
Yeah.
Things that never happened in the end. Summer comes after graduation, and I decide it's time to end it. Too Many Zanders 12, the final chapter. Just me and just Alan. We film it. We kill the Zander clones. I bring them back to life at the end, just so I can keep doing skits with them. And that was history for the Zander clones. Another year continues by. It's about August of 2019. I posted a picture of my first ever Tony Stark cosplay. Ray commented something on it. I responded to him. He quipped back. I quipped back. He responded with, check DMs. And I was like, oh shit, here we go again. Clicked on my DMs.
What did you think I'd said?
I will be honest. I figured, because we talked several times in DMs of like you asking if we want to be friends again. I was like, oh, great. Here we go. He's about to ask me to be friends again. And it was just, you want to just have a conversation? And I was like, okay. And so I was like, okay, it's been too long. Let's see where this is going.
Yes.
Because I'd stopped being friends with the person who instigated the end of our friendship at that point.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, let's just give it one more try. So I started talking to Ray. That night, he video called me on Instagram, and we started talking again.
Yeah.
I told him, Ray, I'm planning to bring Universe back. I want your opinion on some of these ideas. I told you some of my ideas, and you said, Zander, do you just want me to help you with this? And I said, yes, I do.
Yeah.
And now, a full year later, here we are.
We are still doing it.
A full year later, here we are. A new channel, 100 subscribers, and a Patreon. Wow. So that is the story of mine and Ray's friendship told over about the course of an hour. I apologize to everyone for how long that took. I didn't expect it to drag on that long. But now I guess on a brighter note, let's let me grab a drink of water real quick. Ray, let's talk about the first ever LS11 universe mode.
First ever also universe mode was WWE 2K14. Zander managed to put out 2 years of content.
In a year?
No. 2 years worth of content in a year.
That's what I meant. Yeah. So I started with 2K14, and let me break down the batshit crazy booking that was in the head of Xander Carver in 2014 in, let's say, I think it was August, maybe July, when I started writing down ideas. Here's how, I remember the first episode beat by beat. It will take me 2 minutes to tell you. Vince McMahon kicks off the show. He says, "Hello, everyone, and welcome to the LS11 Gaming Universe Mode. We're here in WWE. Our WWE champion is CM Punk, and our World Heavyweight champion is Randy Orton. We have a lot on the show tonight. I can't wait for you all to see it. Have a good night." Then, out comes Ric Flair in a suit, Dolph Ziggler, Wade Barrett, Drew McIntyre, and John Morrison, who call themselves the new Four Horsemen. I didn't know that Fortune was a thing at the time.
Even if
So it was,
there's not a lot of defending in that idea.
no, there's not. I meant it as I did that idea because I didn't know Fortune was a thing. Had I known Fortune was a thing, I'd been like, well, I'm not going to rip that off. So it was then Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose versus John Morrison and Drew McIntyre. Tell me John Morrison and Drew McIntyre wouldn't be a fun team to watch. Anyway, in that match, out of nowhere, because, you played 2K14, it likes to do this sometimes, Ambrose leaves the match.
I mean, it was about as random as actual WWE,
So the Four Horsemen win and are going to be set to face Kevin Nash and Scott Hall for the Raw Tag Team titles. Yeah, we're in for a long haul. Next was Kofi Kingston versus The Miz for the Intercontinental title. Kofi Kingston won, long story short. It was a fucking train wreck of a night. Because then the night ended with a matchup between John Cena and, I think, Cesaro. It was a weird episode. We leave it at that. And there were a lot of weird booking ideas. We'll talk about more of the weird booking ideas. But, it's weird. It's bad I can do this. Let me run you through the history of the WWE and World Heavyweight Championships in the LS11 season, the LS11 First Universe Mode. WWE Championship. CM Punk, Dean Ambrose, John Cena, Wade Barrett, John Cena, The Rock, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Chris Jericho, Roman Reigns on the same night as Chris Jericho, Daniel Bryan, CM Punk, Dolph Ziggler, Chris Jericho again, John Cena, Dean Ambrose, The Rock again, Cesaro, Samoa Joe, Neville, Edge, Zack Ryder, John Cena, Kevin Owens, Seth Rollins, Broken Matt Hardy, Cesaro, Dean Ambrose, Bobby Roode was where I ended. World Heavyweight title, Randy Orton, Sheamus. Randy Orton, Sheamus, Brock Lesnar, John Cena, vacant, Kane, Undertaker. Yes, Kane, by the way. Undertaker, The Rock, Undertaker, Ryback.
Okay, I like Kane, okay?
Ryback, Seth Rollins, Chris Jericho on the same night as Seth Rollins with no briefcase involved, Wade Barrett, Sami Zayn, Sheamus again, Randy Orton again, Bray Wyatt, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar, Shinsuke Nakamura, Finn Balor, AJ Styles, Braun Strowman was where I ended.
Because where else would you leave a championship lineage than in the more than capable hands of Braun Strowman?
2018 was a weird time for me. So yes.
Who likes lifting weights and eating steaks? I do. You're winning the World Championship. Pick me up at 8.
No, ladies and gentlemen, Vince McMahon and Braun Strowman were not just in this podcast booth. That was actually Ray doing impressions. So yes, the LS11 universe, the first one, I booked it on my own for a long time. Pretty much from 2K14 to mid 2K16 when I started NXT. I looked at Ray and I said, Ray, I've broken this thing. Fix it. And threw NXT at him.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you where I handed NXT to Ray. Bobby Roode was the NXT champion, having beat Hideo Itami to win it. Breezango were the NXT Tag Team Champions, winning it on a main roster pay-per-view from the Revival. Carmella was the NXT Women's Champion. And those were the only titles in NXT at the time. My, how far we've come. And so I threw it at Ray, and I said, Ray, fix it. And Ray, what did you do?
Fixed it.
Yeah, pretty much. I threw it at Ray and told him to fix it, and he did. Ray brought in some indie guys like Joe Hendry.
But for me, it was the Scottish hero, Joe Hendry.
Yes, it was, because local didn't make as much sense at the time. And he hadn't done the prestigious one yet. NXT under Ray had a lot going on. Like, we had Nakamura's road to the championship, which lasted.
Yeah, and then you asked me to take the cruiserweights. This was before NXT actually did take the cruiserweights. This was actually like when that was just a big want.
Well, it made more sense for the cruiserweights to be in NXT, so NXT had 4 titles as well. I originally had them planned to be on Raw, but like I had no division because I didn't know any of the cruiserweights. My cruiserweight division was TJ Perkins, Sami Zayn, Neville, Sin Cara, and Kalisto, really, and Kofi Kingston. Half of those people aren't cruiserweights. So yeah, I threw it at Ray and I said, Ray, fix it. And Ray fixed it.
Yep. And how did I do that? Simple booking and trying to make sure everything felt like it fit.
Yes. So we had guys. It led to our NXT TakeOver Orlando, which was before NXT actually did it.
Then we had NXT TakeOver Atlanta.
We had NXT TakeOver Atlanta. TakeOver Atlanta was Ray's first big takeover of the universe.
Yeah.
We had Breezango versus TM61 for the tag titles.
Yeah.
Where Breezango cheated to win.
Yeah.
Carmella versus Bayley for the women's title, which Carmella won clean because Bayley was on her way out.
Yeah.
The cruiserweight title had yet to be crowned. But I believe we had a cruiserweight match on the show. I can't remember.
No, that was Kota Ibushi and Zack Sabre Jr.
Right.
Yeah.
Kota Ibushi versus Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah.
And then the debut of Joe Hendry, where he beat Andrade before we knew how great Andrade was. And the main event was Bobby Roode and Hideo Itami inside of a steel cage where Bobby Roode won.
Yep. Very simple.
Yep.
Yeah.
Simple booking. Made sense. Itami was on his way up in a few weeks' time.
Yeah, so I conclude that story. I started playing for NXT TakeOver Orlando, which was, if I remember correctly,
Kenny Omega versus Shinsuke Nakamura happened.
Yeah, Kenny Omega versus Shinsuke Nakamura. So I remember the championship angle I was doing. I decided to hot shot Joe Hendry to the title.
Yes, after a non-title win over Bobby Roode, which was really fun. Hendry and Roode was the main event. Killian Dane made his debut on that show, beating Elias, I think it was.
Yeah.
Ty Dillinger returned on that show, beating Angelo Dawkins. Wow, weird seeing how far a lot of these people have come and gone.
Mostly gone.
Some of them gone. Angelo Dawkins, I say, just because of where he is nowadays. And then Carmella fought. Who did Carmella fight? It was Alexa Bliss. It was Alexa Bliss.
This was when she was still in NXT. This was before the first draft. This is when everyone was just fantasy booking the draft.
Yes. And then we had the Cruiserweight Championship Fatal 4-Way to crown the first Cruiserweight Champion. Ricochet, who had not signed with WWE yet. Will Ospreay. Wow. Will Ospreay and Ricochet for a Cruiserweight title at a TakeOver before Mania. Noam Dar and TJP, where Noam Dar got the win and was the first Cruiserweight champion.
Yep.
And DIY won the tag titles from Breezango.
In a steel cage.
Was it a steel cage? Yeah, it was. You're right. It was.
Yeah.
And here's the thing about that takeover. Ray did not commentate that takeover because a couple weeks beforehand, I pulled the dick move of pulling the rug out from under Ray.
Yeah.
I still feel bad about that to this day.
What was it exactly?
I think my reasoning back then was I needed to have control of when people were coming and going to the main roster.
Yeah.
Was my excuse, I believe.
Yeah.
And then it would have been easy. I think a part of it was because we had a fight over certain people. Like, we had a fight over Drew McIntyre, I remember.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I wanted him on the main roster immediately, and you wanted him in NXT.
Yeah.
We settled on him coming to the main roster, and I think for some reason that argument pushed me to the edge of where I was like, okay, you're done.
Yeah, I don't know what it was, honestly. So
I think where we're at now with Universe is better, but we'll get there in a minute. So I did the takeover exactly as Ray wanted it, because I didn't want to get rid of that. I started rewriting afterwards, though.
yeah.
And DIY almost immediately lost the tag titles to Sanity. Pretty much the weird thing was I took pretty much what Ray gave me and ripped it up as soon as I could.
Yeah.
You and I had stopped being friends in the middle of this universe mode.
Yeah.
In the midst of all this. So the next takeover we did, Noam Dar lost the Cruiserweight title to Pete Dunne. Shinsuke Nakamura won the NXT title and was then attacked by Adam Cole without the Undisputed Era. Sanity retained the tag titles and DIY did the turn, I believe, in that match. Carmella lost the women's title to Nikki Cross. And I think there was one other match, but it doesn't really matter. Joe Hendry was gone at this point as well. Which, yeah, it sucked. But I wrote Bobby Roode out of NXT at that point because he was coming to the main roster, and he was coming to the main roster fast.
Yeah.
So,
the story I was telling that really mucked up. So I envisioned Bobby Roode losing the title to Shinsuke. Shinsuke then losing the title to Eric Young, and then Eric Young being defeated by Ty Dillinger.
yep.
Yeah.
And I messed it up.
Yeah. I had this big plan out where Ty Dillinger was going to come back, win a bunch of matches, and eventually win the NXT Championship and redemption story. So,
Yep.
What was your plan?
And then I ended up putting the title on Nakamura, had him get attacked by Adam Cole, had Adam Cole win the title, had Nakamura fuck off for a while. Adam Cole was going to hold it for this part of this. These parts didn't get filmed, and it's a good thing they didn't. Adam Cole was going to hold it till the takeover before Mania, where he would lose it to Lars fucking Sullivan. Adam Cole did not have the Undisputed Era at this time. Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish were Red Dragon, and they were the NXT Tag Team Champions at this point, and they were coming out to shock the system, though. Yes, that was actually what happened. And so Adam Cole would have lost to Lars Sullivan. Adam Cole would have moved up the night after Mania to join the Balor Club with Finn Balor, Luke Gallows, and Carl Anderson, where Adam Cole would win the NXT or would win the US title. Balor had the Universal, and Gallows and Anderson were Raw Tag Team Champions. Not really a bad idea, honestly. Lars Sullivan would go on to defeat Murphy in a story where I was making Buddy Murphy an underdog character.
Yep.
Lars Sullivan would then vacate the NXT Championship and disappear. Would you like to know what I did, Ray, to crown the next NXT champion?
What?
A 32-man tournament. 32. I don't remember every single name off the top of my head. I will name as many as I can, as quick as I can. Big E, Jinder Mahal, Aleister Black, EC3, Buddy Murphy, Ty Dillinger, Eric Young, and that's about all I can remember. And the final was EC3 versus Aleister Black, where EC3 proceeded to win the title. And this is the nail in the coffin. This was the final plan for the NXT title under Zander before I threw everything and said, I'm done, and canceled Universe. Do you know, Ray, who was supposed to come to NXT and beat EC3 for the title?
Who?
I've told you, but I don't think you remember.
Okay.
Corey Graves.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't know what I was doing, and this is what led to the downfall of Universe, was I was so overwhelmed. Toys R Us had just closed in the midst of all of this. I had planned so far in advance that I had such a backlog of stuff to record. Like Hell in a Cell hadn't come out yet, and I was already recorded up to the Royal Rumble. So I canceled it. I deleted all the videos, and I canceled it. And I bought 2K19 when it came out, and I had no intention to do a Universe mode. I just had it to play it.
Yep.
I didn't play it much either until the creation of ARW. And now here we are, where we've restarted Universe mode, and I guess our final thing to talk about, because we promised to talk about it, Black Wednesday.
Black Wednesday.
So, Black Wednesday happened while I was looking at a new house to move into with my parents.
Yep.
I got an email, or not an email, a notification that WrestleTalk was live, talking about how Eric Young, EC3, Drake Maverick, Gallows and Anderson, Kurt Angle, and Rusev had been released. And I looked at the name EC3 and Drake Maverick and said, fuck. Because at the time, EC3 had just won the WWE Championship in Universe the day before.
Yeah, so we were kind of screwed on that. EC3, we had this plan for EC3, Braun Strowman, and Drake Maverick.
Yes, and Ray sent me a text. Ray doesn't text me often. He sent me a text, or he doesn't text me outside of Messenger often. He sent me a text on Snapchat and said, our booking just got fucked. And I refreshed the page, and Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins, Aiden English, and many, many others have been added to the list.
Many.
Like, it was sad to see.
Yeah.
So we had to rebook a lot. Like, you know, Roman Reigns was the most recent WWE champion before The Fiend now. Roman Reigns and The Fiend weren't supposed to have that match again. They had that match at Money in the Bank where The Fiend won in his debut. But the original plan, and we can talk about this now, I think, because pretty much the storyline's wrapped up now. Or would have been wrapped up by now.
Yeah.
So the plan was, Ray, and correct me if I'm wrong here, the plan was EC3 was going to retain the title against Daniel Bryan at Night of Champions on his own.
Yes.
On that same night, Lesnar and The Fiend still would have had their match.
Mm-hmm.
Hell in a Cell, we were going to do that match that we had with Reigns and Jeff Hardy, but it was going to be EC3 and Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, sounds right. And then at Survivor Series, Braun Strowman and Drake Maverick were going to win the SmackDown tag titles for Edge and Christian, not the Usos. Sounds right?
Sounds about right, yeah.
The Fiend was going to attack EC3 inside of the steel cage, just like he did to Roman.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And then The Fiend would beat EC3 for the WWE title at TLC.
Yep. And then Braun Strowman was going to eliminate EC3 from the Royal Rumble.
Not yet, because if you guys remember, most recently, Miz and Morrison won the SmackDown tag titles from the Usos at the Royal Rumble. That was supposed to be Miz and Morrison beating EC3 and Drake Maverick, because EC3, in a fit of rage after losing the WWE title, because it was actually going to be a rematch between EC3 and The Fiend at the Royal Rumble, and not Fiend versus Mankind, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe that Mankind thing was a very recent plan, like in the months beforehand. So EC3 was going to tell Braun Strowman, I'm going to go in there, Freebird rule, and he was going to take the spot from Braun Strowman, and because of the fatigue and from not really doing much tag work, EC3 was going to lose the SmackDown tag titles to Miz and Morrison. EC3 and Braun would then be in the Rumble together, where Braun would eliminate EC3, and at WrestleMania, it would have been EC3 and Drake Maverick in a handicap match versus Braun Strowman.
Yep, that was the plan.
And it was going to go one of two ways. We pretty much knew EC3 was on his way out of the company anyway. So it was a matter of, if EC3 was on his way out, Braun would win and Drake would align himself with Braun. But if EC3 wasn't going to leave WWE and it was announced he signed a new deal, he and Drake Maverick were going to win.
That was the plan. I think we said Braun will get over at another point.
Right. Braun Strowman's really gotten the short end of the stick in the current universe mode, and I admit that.
Yeah.
It is just a matter of you can't push everyone. If you push everyone, you're effectively pushing no one.
Yeah.
So that's why Braun isn't pushed. There's a lot of guys that are like that. I mean, we have a roster of over 100 people.
Some of them are, just getting left by the wayside in the ultimate reality of things. And so you have to kind of just make your priorities. And you try to get as many people over at once as you can, and which is very possible in wrestling. But the issue has been that you can push a lot of people at once, but you can't push everybody.
Right. Like, another noticeable one is AJ Styles. AJ Styles hasn't done terribly much in universe until most recently with his stuff before the Royal Rumble and stuff that you might be seeing upcoming in the next few weeks before Elimination Chamber. I will admit AJ Styles is more featured than he used to be. AJ Styles was just a matter of, we're doing this whole Monday Night Rollins thing right now with Rollins being the Monday Night Messiah. AJ Styles versus Seth Rollins, well, I mean, yeah, it's a good match idea, but like, AJ's a more natural heel to me than he is a babyface.
Yeah, so we were left kind of in the dark with what we were going to do here.
Yeah, and we have plans for AJ Styles for what we want to do to fix all of this. They might be coming sooner rather than later. You'll see. But like, you guys will see in the next coming weeks, from the time this is being recorded, of course. But like, there's a lot of guys like that. Undisputed Era have been running NXT, so we can't push everyone we want to push. Like, Pete Dunne and Walter have been the top contenders for the NXT title. And people want Karrion Kross. Like, we're behind the Patreon paywall, so I can talk about it a bit more openly now. Like, you guys have made it very, very evident that you want Karrion Kross in universe mode. And I'm going to burst the bubble now, I guess. Karrion Kross is not the one that's going to be fighting Adam Cole at TakeOver.
Yeah.
Like we get, and I'm going to prove this real quick, we get countless comments, some from the same people, others from different people, on almost every episode of NXT. And I'll read a couple of them real quick. We actually gained a subscriber in the time we've been recording, so whoever that is, thank you. Just on NXT alone, let me read you the last few weeks of NXT comments. NXT from one person, fire emojis from another. Then on another episode of NXT, let's see here. I have a feeling that Karrion Kross is going to debut at the Rumble. TikTok, Doomsday is coming to NXT. That's the only way to stop the Undisputed Era. Let's see here. There's more. Maybe the only person that can beat Adam Cole is Karrion Kross. Adam Cole, baby, keeps the NXT title for now. TikTok, Adam Cole, Kross is coming for your championship. So yeah, a lot of people want Karrion Kross. But the reason we haven't done it is because we don't want to hot shot too many people into the scene at once. Notice, this is the perfect example. Finn Balor was kept out of universe for almost a year.
Yeah.
John Cena was kept out of universe for almost a year.
Yeah, and this is why you want to build certain talents. This is how I build certain talents. Because we write universe together, but NXT is something I primarily book.
Yes.
I have kept the champions the same, very similar. So you get used to that. So you get used to the idea that they're going to be champion for an extended period of time. Therefore, you have a chance to grasp that and come to know them as the champion.
Right. Like the only title in NXT that's changed hands multiple times so far is the Cruiserweight, which has changed hands twice, and the North American, which has changed hands 4 times, I believe.
Yeah. The North American has been hot the most. And I get this idea from a very old booking philosophy in which I just try to keep things as similar as possible. So I really want to shake it up and take care of the territory, so to speak. So I've kept the challenges very simple. I've kept the matches very simple. And I've also had Adam Cole do a lot of triple threats.
Right.
As a way to protect him, as a way to protect everyone. Behind the paywall, I don't care. Velveteen Dream really fucks shit up because we can't mention him right now.
Yeah, we don't mention him. We don't use him. Same with Austin Theory, really.
Yeah.
Like, Austin Theory's allegations came out after we put him over so much in the Royal Rumble. Like, I won't lie. He was supposed to be fighting for the Universal title pretty soon.
Yeah, so we have... And so, you play it by ear like that. So I've always... kind of tried to keep things very similar, not playing too far in advance, and always play it against the chest, because I always want for the booking to ultimately come out making very coherent sense, which I feel the need is very important. So I've always tried to make sure that everything runs and makes sense and has a narrative arc, which is how I write all wrestling. A narrative point and narrative flow. So Adam Cole's been champion for a long time now, and I think everyone knows for the most part that his reign is in its latter half and is going to end fairly soon.
Probably.
Yeah. I think that's something you can guess. But I'm trying to find the best way to end it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to build to a climax. And so a lot of times these ideas people suggest don't work in my head because it doesn't build off anything. There's no hints. There's no story reason for this to happen. And
right.
And you can sell matches, and I have sold matches in NXT based on the skill level of the participants involved. But also it has to be split with the idea that you are booking the thing that makes the most logical sense moving forward.
Right.
So Dunn versus Cesaro was booked with the entire purpose of, those guys are 2 workhorses to put on a good match. That's the only reason we did that match for that takeover.
And little did we know it would be one of the best matches in universe history.
Yeah. And I can't wait for that can't wait till we do another one of those matches. It was very long, very lengthy.
But it was nonstop action.
Yeah, it was nonstop action the entire endeavor. So I have come to be really proud of the match in that feud. But notice that you also had the story of Walter versus Adam Cole. Now, Walter and Adam Cole have been in a lot of matches together, but they've never competed one-on-one against one another. So Walter was always viewed as the person who can beat Adam Cole.
Right.
Yeah. So that's the story I was telling with our last takeover most recently.
Yes. And one thing about that is, I was going to say it doesn't make sense. It wouldn't make sense if Adam Cole beat Walter and it seemed like they were still unfinished business, and then boom, Karrion Kross just shows up out of nowhere and attacks Adam Cole and just plows through Adam Cole to win the title at the next takeover. I was going to say that doesn't make much sense, but then you also got to remember that at our first takeover, when Adam Cole beat Velveteen Dream to retain the title, Imperium attacked the Undisputed Era. But that kind of made sense, if you ask me.
Yeah. And
because
also,
you could tell the story was over.
You can tell the story between Adam Cole was over and that Adam Cole will move on to his next story. And that's my point. Adam Cole you have your initial story and then you have your more central story. And so right now, Adam Cole is in a central story. Adam Cole is in his story.
Right.
The story of his NXT and the ultimate victory or delusion that he will ultimately break in the end.
Right. And there was the whole thing of the Undisputed Era claim they're always going to be dripping in gold forever. they can't hold on to that North American title for longer than one takeover, though.
Yeah. So there's this story that we are naturally going to tell over time and eventually complete. I hope you guys really, really enjoy what we do with it. And I book a lot like it's a sport. And every single sporting event ever ends with okay and is immediately on to the next thing.
Yep.
All sports works. And so the reason they don't talk about what Wayne Gretzky in hockey is because Wayne Gretzky was yesterday, and the sport always moves forward. Everything always moves forward. So that's kind of what I book based on. That the second I finish the story, the audience is going to go, okay, and they want that story to continue. So that's something really a lot of people need to learn the structure of the story and laying out that story. That's the advice I give for booking is book in endpoints, but also book yourself a new beginning.
Right, and that's kind of how I book. Is I like to start with the endpoint. Like most recently, a thing that is happening: Finn Balor winning the Rumble. I don't think it's much of a secret who he's going to pick. It's gone up at the day we're recording this. He says he wants the Fiend at WrestleMania. I think we all know that. I mean, I hate to put it like this. I think we all kind of know the Elimination Chamber with the Fiend is kind of a pleasantry more than a story.
Yeah.
Like Ray, you knew as well as I did. Balor versus Fiend for the Universal, or not the Universal, for the WWE title at WrestleMania has been the plan essentially since we started.
Yes. How
we were going to get there, we've been piecing it together. Things have changed. Things have stayed the same. Quite honestly, it very well could have been Balor versus EC3 at the Elimination Chamber if EC3 was still around.
Yeah. Because we had an idea to keep EC3 on top, and that didn't really work itself out. So. Yeah,
well, he got fired, unfortunately. There's a lot of stuff there's a lot of stuff, and we'll talk about it more and more as we go, but there's only so much time, especially because we're coming up on the 2-hour mark before I edit, of course, and I don't want to go for too long. So, Ray, I'm going to leave you on this question here. If there's one thing booking-wise you could have changed that we've done in the past, with not counting like not doing this because of Black Wednesday, like because we didn't know Black Wednesday was going to happen. If we could have changed one thing in booking without knowing Black Wednesday was going to happen, what would you think we should have done differently?
This is just involving a match or just universe mode in general?
Universe mode, a match, a story, a wrestler, whatever. Because I'll tell you mine.
Showdown? Because everyone thought it was a Saudi show?
Yeah. Well, that was actually also part of your idea because we were doing Murphy versus Morrison there.
Yeah, because I thought everyone would understand it was Australia.
Yeah. One thing I would have done differently is I would have had us build up Keith Lee more.
Yeah.
Instead of having him disappear for 6 months. Because we had him lose that match at TakeOver Brooklyn to Pete Dunne. And I don't know what you're doing. He lost that TakeOver Brooklyn match to Pete Dunne. And then we didn't see him again until he came out of the Royal Rumble and eliminated Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, we didn't see him again for a long time. And that's something I also complain about, but you also had to keep people surprises. So I don't truly regret booking that too much.
Yeah, but he didn't do too much spectacular in NXT. Was the problem. Like, he lost to Walter, he lost to Pete Dunne, he lost to Roderick Strong. Like, yeah. I don't think Keith Lee really won much in NXT, which is unfortunate because I love Keith
Lee. I love Keith Lee also.
But yeah, so that's just kind of, we've barely scratched the surface of the universe, and we got so much more to talk about on future episodes of this podcast. But hopefully we'll have some Patreon questions for next time.
Yep.
So this is going to conclude the first ever episode of the LS11 Universe podcast from Patreon. Thanks for watching, guys, whether you're watching us on video form or you're listening on the RSS feed. Can't wait to talk to you guys again in 2 weeks.
Later, guys.
All right. I've been Zander. He's been Ray. That was the podcast.